Hello, everybody. Welcome to SUSECON. Welcome to my session. Welcome to the session about green IT. My name's Bernhard. We're talking about green IT today and a few things. The main question around green IT that I typically get asked is, what is it? Why do we do it? How can we do it? And why should we do it? Let me introduce myself. My name is Bernhard Hecker. I'm head of public affairs in Europe. That means I'm a lobbyist and I'm focusing on discussing politics and open source with politicians and policymakers, mainly in Germany, but also on EU level. And that brought me also to the really, really interesting and highly discussed topic of green IT that I would like to present to you today. Quickly, a few words of green IT. What is meant by green IT? Green IT is all around combining technology and sustainability. Sustainability, the most important thing that we have to do to protect our planet and to protect ourselves from the climate change and reduce the risks and the effects of that climate change. We want to reduce waste and we want to reduce pollution of the planet and keeping it a healthy place also for our children and their children. There's a few issues and a lot of problems that we see today when it comes to using modern technology, not only software, but everything that runs software as well. People are replacing well-functioning hardware in incredible amounts. People are replacing smartphones. People are replacing computers, screens, notebooks, and everything, even though those devices work just perfectly because software is not supporting them anymore. Data centers use power, a lot of power, and it's not getting less. It's getting more and more and more and more data centers are being built. In the future, for example, in Germany, there's an interesting law coming up where they say that new data centers that are going to be built after 2025 are only allowed to use sustainably generated energy like solar power or wind energy. And politicians that want to get re-elected in democratic states, in democratic countries, sustainability and digitization programs are things that politicians drive. And the big question here is that something that can play well together, or is it something that is more a contradiction? Let me talk a little bit about statistics, about hardware waste. We see about 53 million tons of hardware waste every year, and only 20% of those 53 million tons of hardware waste are being recycled. So the recycling quota is very, very low. And the biggest problem with that is that the remaining 80% are dumped in mostly African or Indian landfills, and they're highly toxic. There's statistics and there's research done around that. And for example, eggs from slums that are close to those waste dumps have 220 times the dioxin concentration that is allowed by the World Health Organization. So this is an egg, if you eat it, you get sick. It's just like really, really horrible, and you have to do something. And there's a statistic that shows us how much e-waste is generated per inhabitant in selected countries. It's a few years old, but it shows high numbers, and amazingly, even the most modern countries like the Nordic countries here in Europe, Australia, Germany, are amongst the top countries creating electronic waste per people living in the country. Another interesting thing next to that waste problem that we see is energy consumption in data centers. Data centers used roughly 196 to 400 terawatt hours of energy just for running cloud infrastructures and software in data centers. That's about 1 to 2% of the annual data center energy consumption. Analysis shows that the European Union will require 104 terawatt hours of energy for data centers in 2020, and the numbers are growing year by year dramatically. And if you look into how much energy is being used by a country and how much energy is being used by data centers, you could see that just between South Africa and Indonesia, you would see all data centers of this world using energy. So that's a big thing. And that is something that we have to address because, as we all know, cloud consumption and cloud usage is increasing on a daily basis, and people are adding more and more functionalities and more technology to those data centers. So it's not only the number of data centers that is growing, it's also the number of applications, the number of things that are happening, the amount of data that is stored in those data centers is increasing dramatically every single day, and that's causing energy consumption at a very high level. And this is something that I would like to talk about today, and how we can address that consumption and how we can address the reduction of electronic waste. Why should we care? Why should we at SUSE, we as SUSE employees and we in the open source community care about these things? Well, first of all, because it's possible, because we can. I mean, we have the power to do it. If you look at a very simple thing, if you look at smartphones, you all have one of these or something similar like that in your pocket. And we all had those apps that were draining battery like hell. And we were complaining to the developers and the engineers and the producers of those apps that that specific app was draining just too much energy. A big example of that is the Corona warning app in Germany that was just sucking half of the battery every day when they started rolling it out. And then after a few months, engineers came around the corner, did some magic in the code, and all of a sudden the energy consumption and the battery drain of the app went down tremendously. So, and if we can do that for apps and energy drain of batteries on smartphones, why can't we do the same thing with operating systems, with basic cloud infrastructure and applications in data centers? Well, we can. And it's not only possible, it's also necessary. We have to save our planet. I mean, look at it. Look at how the climate crisis that we're currently not talking about for many reasons any longer is still there. If we do something, it increases also from a company standpoint our visibility. Look at SUSE. SUSE has a green logo. SUSE is a company that is taking care a lot about people, about the environment, about everything. So it increases visibility if you do something. From my personal perspective, I know that talking to politicians, public procurement is asking for sustainability. There's an interesting thing coming up this year. There's a law being put into place in Bavaria, my home state in Germany, this year, the Bavarian Digitization Law. And the Bavarian Digitization Law has two very interesting sentences in it. Sentence number one, whenever you buy a digital product, this is an order to the public procurement in Bavaria. Whenever you buy a digital product and there is an open source version of that functionality that you're looking for available, prefer to buy open source. Very good. Number two, if you buy a digital product, try to buy, if possible, the most sustainable, the least energy consuming digital product. And this is a very, very challenging and difficult task for procurement, because how do you know if Windows or SLE use more or less energy? How do you know what is the more sustainable product? So if we do things and talk about them and prove that we are using technology that is reducing energy consumption and that is the least energy consuming technology that is available, that gives us a very good momentum in selling to the public sector in Germany. And then on a very high level, there's the so-called Europe's Green Deal. It's a massive program that supports creating and building sustainable technology and sustainable products in Europe. And Europe wants to drive not only replacing of the use of fossil energy and drive sustainable energy creation. They also are investing into building technology and building products that are sustainable. And it's possible, it's necessary, and it's exciting. It's a lot of fun. It's great. I mean, imagine we were the first in the market saying, like, we have an operating system that has a blue angel, like this logo from the federal German government saying this is a sustainable product. Let's have that certificate. Let's make it easy to buy our product looking at sustainability. Let's have something that is great to work on, because we're not working only on technology, we're also working on sustainability. Have you ever imagined that building products could be building sustainable products, building products for the future of our kids, for our own future? And I mean, have customers that say, thank you. This is something that really makes us shine and rise in our own company as well. Talking to a CIO of a larger manufacturer in Germany, he said to me, if I could prove to my company that I'm running our IT infrastructure in a sustainable way, the employees would love us. So it's attractive for companies to be sustainable and to do good things for the future, because it also attracts employees. So it's a great thing, and you have grateful customers if you rebuild these things. So why should we do it? We should do it because it's possible. We should do it because it's necessary. And we should do it because it's a lot of fun to do it. Let's just start. A little bit about the market. What's happening out there when we talk about green IT? Well, I had a few talks to customers and to partners like Miele, for example, of Phoenix Contact, which are larger companies in northwestern Germany, or also Google here in Germany. They are very, very interested in us working together with them on green IT with our technology, like the Ranger product side, as well as the SUSE Linux product side, bringing those together as green technology and working with them and selling it eventually just to Miele sounded very interesting and appealing to them. Then there is a big project out there being funded by the European Union. It's called SUSE. This program is about building a competitor to the large hyperscalers in Europe. It's a massive project where you have like between 60 and 70 large companies across Europe coming together and building a cloud infrastructure that is a cloud edge infrastructure at the end. It's going to be used for various use cases. A few of them are around automated driving on highways in Germany. A few others are around other industrial use cases. And the common goals of this project, building that cloud technology, building the core of that cloud infrastructure that is going to be used and going to be sold, is number one, it's got to be open source. And number two, it has to have sustainability and energy consumption reduction in mind from the beginning. The third thing that's happening on the market, as just mentioned before, is the Bavarian digitization law. And if you look at other companies out there, there's a lot of companies that are actually working on more sustainability. Google is at least CO2 carbon neutral. Akamai, they have their own energy efficiency program. Cloudflare has one, and I've heard rumors that Amazon AWS is working on sustainability programs as well. I mean, look at their new processors that they just launched. They're reducing energy consumption by 30% in cloud infrastructure, which is massive. Right. Why should we do it? Why should we do it? How can we do it? How can we get into the position that helps us and that brings us to the on top of this green IT movement that is out there? I mean, number one, we're between hardware and software. Like the operating system is the thing that sits on top of the hardware and that controls everything. So if we are, as an open source companies, building and supporting open standards in the middle between the applications and the hardware, we can help negotiating between both sides standards to exchange information about how energy consuming is the current application, the current task that is running. And so even software vendors that build applications on top of Linux could use that information that is being delivered by the hardware level in order to steer and control their applications. We're on every device. We're not only on mobile phones where people complain about battery drain, we're also on supercomputers and on everything between a mobile phone and a supercomputer. We're in every piece of software. As an open source company, we do not only contribute to our own software, as Microsoft does with Windows, we also contribute to everybody else's Linux out there. So if we build these things into the Linux kernel, if we add to the various components of the products that we have, everybody can benefit from it. And doing it upstream, you all know better than me, everybody will automatically benefit from it. So the things that we do here are not only things that we do for ourselves, they're also things that we do for everybody. And we are in a very, very, very good position between the people using actually the software and the applications, our customers, and the partners that we have on the hardware side, and on the manufacturing side. So we can work closely together with all sides of the market. We're just in the perfect position in the middle of that market to talk to everybody and be the core driver of that new movement. What should we do? Well, number one is very simple: implement green coding guidelines. There's a few guidelines out there. You can find them on the internet. There's the Green Software Foundation that published a lot of interesting things. That the Green Software Foundation actually is part of the Linux Foundation, so it's close to our own heart. They say how to build code, how to build applications that are using less energy than they were before, how to reduce energy consumption in software. Those green coding guidelines are guidelines that help us building more energy efficient software without affecting any functionality. We need to build energy measurement components. We have to find out how much energy is actually being used by what. This, of course, should be done alongside the current projects like SUSE or Gaia-X in Europe that are doing these things by themselves. So building our own standard without negotiating with these people would probably end up with us being on an isolated island. So looking into this should be something that we should focus on. Compare energy consumption with competitors. Well, I mean, how much energy does Windows use? How much energy does SLE use running the same application on top of it? Can we see differences on the same hardware? We should just do measurements, compare it, and publish those numbers. Run a few research projects on that. And then, of course, start with our products. I mean, put it into the SUSE Linux Enterprise, put it into the range of products, start with it and see how it works, see how it makes our products better, see how customers are wasting less energy. And I know that a lot of these things already happened in the past. So I have heard, for example, that we had a strong initiative on the SLE side with SLE 11, where we reduced a lot of energy, where we focused on energy reduction years ago, yet we never spoke about it. So if it's already done, we just should start marketing these things. We don't even have to do anything on the engineering side if it's done already. And the final last thing, but not least, is get external accreditation. Get the Blue Angel as soon as it is possible. Currently it's not, but it will be this year. So as soon as the certificates are being published and you can get your backend infrastructure, your operating system certified as energy friendly, do that as soon as possible. The best time to start this was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. As said before a few times, we are in the right position. We are in the position to do it. We have the power to do it. We are big enough to do it. We are strong enough to do it. We are experienced enough to do it. It fits our culture. Look at all the SUSE Going Green programs that we do. Look at the core values of the company. Innovate everywhere. So innovate also on the energy consumption, on the sustainability side. We have the right people. Look at the people that we have, your colleagues that are all driven by this open source community mentality. It's so valuable and it's so the right thing to do. And being in this company, working with these people every day, just gave me the impression that working on sustainability is just a magic, perfect match. We have the right culture. It even matches our CI. Look at the CI, the green logo. Why not? The world is waiting for us to take the lead. I've heard so many people that if you don't do it as the Linux company in Europe, who else could do it? If you are the biggest open source company out there, why if you don't do it, will do it. Please drive it. Politicians are asking us, what should we do? What should we focus on? Where should we put our money? Into what regulation or laws or support do you need from the political side in order to become successful? Because we as politicians want to know what to do next, how to shape the future of our countries for the people that we are responsible for. And of course, people need purpose and hope, but that you know by yourself. Who, if not us, look at the communities we're part of, look at the partners we're partnering with. If you look at all those hardware companies, if you look at the communities we are part of, if we are just in the middle of those two, we can help. We are in the right position to bring all those together and make the technology that we provide using less energy, being more sustainable, helping not only creating new, innovative, amazing applications, but also a better future by using less energy. Thank you very much for listening. And now to your questions.